Good evening, welcome to Face to Face. I'm your host Adam Jasser. Normally I would introduce this show with one sentence, but today is different. On this day, President Donald Trump sought to reclaim the role of an honest broker between Russia and Ukraine, declaring that I'm in the middle. But the world first saw the U.S. President and Vice President dress down Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on live television. To his credit, Zelenskyy responded with dignity to what must be an unprecedented treatment of a foreign leader ever to be a guest at the White House. He defended his stance and deftly captured Trump's attention by showing images of tortured Ukrainian prisoners of war and reminded the US president about the fate of 20,000 Ukrainian children kidnapped by Moscow. To no avail. The talks broke down. The scenes we saw today will surely enter the world history, not necessarily for good reasons. To talk about what it all means for Ukraine, Europe and the world, I'm joined today by Michał Broniatowski, Editor-in-Chief of TVP World. Michał, good to have you.
Thank you.
Will this day live in infamy?
I'm afraid yes. We saw the very ugly face of politics in which a bigger one has no mercy for the smaller one and weaker one, and the one who is now undergoing an aggression from another.
Bully.
Yes. They say when you buy a sausage, you better don't know what is, how is it made, and we exactly saw how this sausage is made in this, with our viewers. We could see it in this short cut of this sort of conference, press conference.
Totally unprecedented.
Yes, together with some officials from Trump's side, helping from the side in attacking Zelenskyy, intimidating him, and we will probably...
I think intimidation is a good word that you used, because it seemed to me at the beginning that Trump was trying to persuade Zelenskyy to accept whatever deal there is on the table, whatever deal America will agree with Putin. But it descended into something completely different.
Because they were using arguments who, of course, made Zelenskyy to stand up for them and try to explain to the president and Vice President J.D. Vance, who was sitting by, tell them that this guy, Putin, whom you trust, Trump several times has said over the last few days that he trusts Putin. And here Zelenskyy tells him that no, Putin broke his word 25 times since the beginning of the war, and in which he reminded also Trump that it started not in 2022, but it started in 2014. And since that time, there were many agreements and ceasefires, which were all broken by Putin and his cronies. So, when he told him the obvious truth about what was happening, they started, in response, rather than talk to him, they started dressing him down and asking him, why are you not thankful for what we did for you?
Yes. It's also a question of this televised meeting. They're not televising negotiations with Putin. They're not televising the discussion between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Sergei Lavrov. That's behind the closed doors. There is a communique later. And what I see here is a pattern of Trump and his officials attacking allies while being soft on Putin.
Yes, I think this sort of filmed negotiations. It's like, you know, a filmed set trial of you know, in communism times. You were inviting somebody and then dressing them down in front of the audience. This time, not only audience in the room, but
global audience.
Global audience. You know, I'm not sure if it was 1 billion people watching it, but fair enough. And
there were such high hopes before this meeting, because this was supposed, this minerals deal that didn't get signed in the end, was supposed to be the opening to further moves that would finally bring peace. But instead, we saw just arm twisting, attack, and at the end of the day, failure.
You know, it's it all started with this several days ago. Mr. The president of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, refused to sign the first draft of this mineral proposal, and you know, and he behaved exactly by the book of Mr. Trump, who in his
Art of the Deal,
yes, he was saying never agree for the first proposal. So he didn't agree to the first proposal, which was
unfavorable to.
Well, it was absolutely outrageous, because it was asking, pay us $500 billion from your resources and we will help you. Maybe. And no guarantees. What they managed to achieve during negotiations over the last few days was
actually a fair deal.
They came to a fair deal in which both Ukraine and the US would be a winner, win-win.
So why would Trump kill a deal which was a win-win and would be a good stepping stone to further negotiations with Europeans, Russia, and everybody else?
Because he doesn't want to give any guarantees.
Security guarantees.
Security guarantees. When he says that our presence in Ukraine will be a good enough guarantee that Russians, not military presence, but our workers' presence, would be a good enough guarantee for Ukraine that Putin wouldn't dare step in with arms. Of course, and he doesn't agree, Zelenskyy, for this sort of guarantees. You know, not words will defend him, but arms.
Sure. And the Europeans, you know, we had President Macron, we had Keir Starmer in Washington, basically saying the same thing. We're happy to take much greater responsibility for securing potential peace with our troops on the ground, but we need your backstop. We need to be sure that America is behind us. And for a moment, it seemed that Trump was saying, well, you know, if you do the right thing, I will deliver on my part. So, you know, just to try to be on the other side for a moment, although the outrage is obvious, but maybe it's still part of a negotiation, and maybe we still need to see...
I think he couldn't have envisaged such a breakdown of talks. Even Trump, I don't think he
you think he was carried away?
No, I think he wanted to. He thought that if he twists the arm of Zelenskyy, that's why
Zelenskyy will cave in.
Yeah, and probably for this purpose they were talking in the open, and we could see how this meat is going to turn into sausage. It didn't in the end, and now. You know, we have to say what's now. Now it's time for Europe to get its act together and show Mr. Putin that we don't need, in fact, all these missiles from the US, because in fact the only element of armed forces on this war theater. In an element in which Russia has some advantage over Europe, not over NATO, but over Europe, is the number of satellites for telecommunications. In every other element, without nuclear.
Small thing, nuclear.
Yes, but, you know,
actually quite important, isn't it?
Yes, but him using it would make no difference if we are supported by
Ian Brzezinski, who former Assistant Secretary of Defense in the United States, told us recently that it's the conventional forces that matter in this, and that Europe should be capable of fielding 40,000, 50,000 troops, well armed well enough to stave off any potential Russian counterattack, because Russia is also depleted at the moment.
So what?
So nuclear arms are not
Exactly.
At the forefront of this
Yes,
discussion.
nuclear arms are there and will stay there. You know, the France and Great Britain, they do have nuclear bombs, and the counterattack is always possible. So he will always, you know, monger fear about this. His nuclear capabilities, Mr. Putin.
And that's why Trump repeats this mantra about starting World War III.
Third World War, yes. But what I want to say is exactly what I am aiming at is that Europe, if it gets its act together, can stand up to Russia. It has more manpower. It has more weapons of every kind. It has more modern missiles, cruise missiles, planes, whatever you choose, with the exception of satellite system.
And as we know, European leaders are going to meet in London this weekend.
On Sunday.
And then the European Union leaders will meet on March 6 to discuss all these issues. So it was, in a sense, prescient of British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to call that meeting. Maybe he realized that things weren't going as well.
I think that it's very good that we will see two highest level conferences of European leaders, and they will pave the way to a very, very quick action in order to support Ukraine, to tell Ukrainians, as well as Mr. Putin, that this war is not lost, even if Mr. Trump on the other side of the pond is shouting at the victim of this aggression.
Right. You know, it's, as I said earlier, it's a pattern of Mr. Trump being rude and threatening to allies. We interviewed the former Danish Prime Minister and Secretary General of NATO, Mr. Rasmussen, the other day, and he called what Trump and J.D. Vance, and we saw J.D. Vance again today, he called what they did claiming Greenland shameless. And he made a further argument saying, you know, as a child, I admired America. It was obvious that America is our friend, and now this is just astonishing.
It is. You know, I am even older than Mr. Rasmussen.
Are you?
Than Rasmussen, yes, I am.
It doesn't show.
Thank you very much. But I remember very well what was the importance of the United States in the times of communism. And all the leaders of the U.S. until President Biden were supporting
the world order that they built.
Exactly. And our part of this part of the world, they were doing what they could, perhaps with the exception of Yalta. But after Yalta, they at least were busy protecting the world which is controlled by rules.
Yes. This is the difference with Yalta, because the comparison with Yalta isn't entirely off the mark, because America walked away from our part of Europe. Certainly Poland was betrayed in 1945, the first ally. But at least Roosevelt tried to create a world order based on rules. United Nations, Security Council, and so on and so forth. We know not everything worked according to plan, but there was clear idea that America is leading an effort to stop future wars, right? And now Trump is declaring that he wants to stop a war.
No. He wants peace, but I noted that he used the word, I want to make a deal, more often than I want to make peace. So this is the difference.
Okay. Well, you know, we mentioned the European leaders, and of course we just had an election in Germany, which returned hung parliament, but it seems that the Social Democrats, who have been in power now in another coalition, will be a junior partner to the victorious Christian Democrats, and their leader, Friedrich Merz, is most likely the next chancellor. And he's already talking, you know, he is an Atlanticist. All his life he was, just like Mr. Rasmussen, talking about friendship and partnership with America. Now he's talking about independent Europe. So he's basically adopting a language that we hear from the French. What do you make of this?
You know, I think it's pragmatic because he has to react to what is happening. You know, he's taking over from Social Democrats who have in their DNA, the German Social Democrats, to say the least, distrust towards the United States. German Christian Democrats were always Atlanticists and very much supporting the US. The US, which was also supporting Germany. And now he noted that it's not the case anymore. Rather,
yes, I think the turning point came at the Munich Security Conference when he heard J.D. Vance siding with the far right, with all the parties that want to blow up Europe.
Exactly.
Because a few months earlier, Mr. Merz was saying, we need a good deal with America, you know, we will have a good trade relationship, America is important. Now he's speaking completely different language.
It is, well, it's a very good hope for us as well, you know.
Who's us in this sentence? Europe?
Sorry?
Who is us in this sentence?
Europe.
Okay.
But
Poland as well?
Especially Poland.
But for Poland, this is all confusing, this situation. Because Poland, on the one hand, has traditionally had very close ties with America. And we heard in recent weeks pledges from the new U.S. administration that these ties will continue, that American presence in Poland will continue. And even today, Mr. Trump said something flattering about Poland and its effort to beef up spending on military.
Because there was a Polish journalist who was asking questions.
Okay, well, but he did say some really nice things about Poland. But at the same time, Poles have invested emotionally, but also financially, and with human also spirit and, you know, of help to Ukrainians since the first day of the war. So for Poles, it's very confusing. So what should the Polish people think about all of this?
I think we should treat this as a given fact. And the Prime Minister of Poland, Mr. Donald Tusk, he is aiming to wake up Europe in order to unite itself against Russia. And, you know, we can get some support from the US, but if we don't, okay, we can do it on our own. And we see all the time more EU and European leaders, because it also includes Great Britain, which are thinking alike, which are...
So the European version of the coalition of the willing?
I'm sure it will work, because I cannot imagine it not working.
We don't want to think about it.
You don't want to think about Russian tanks on the border of Poland and Ukraine.
Michał, thank you very much. This was all we've got for you today. This was Face to Face, and see you next week.